So Technopark at IITK basically is the brand name of what actually is IIT Kanpur Research and Technology Park Foundation. It's a basically independent, not-for-profit Section 8 company. So we are about 2 years old, as Mr. Barisia said. We still in the process of building the facility. What you see here is actually what we are in the process of constructing. We are currently in a transit facility where we still have already the companies have joined us. I'll talk about it. So our vision is basically to foster industry academia collaboration. One is to preferably co-develop technologies, bring about innovations in industry, basically keeping in line with national priorities, like what is really important for the country, what do we need as for the industry, and also ultimately leading to wealth creation, and in the process also leveraging the competence of IIT Kanpur. So whatever strength that we have, I think it is important that these strengths are utilized, leveraged by the industry. So the mission of Technopark is to become a hub of R&D activities, to enable translational research. I will talk a little bit about it, and ensure that we have two-way flow between industry and academia. Specifically IIT Kanpur today is what I'm going to talk about. So deepen interaction, cooperation between, so it has always been said, industry is in one place, academia is one place, we don't talk to each other. So this is a part of our job is to deepen this interaction, deepen this cooperation. And of course, all this ultimately should lead to something more tangible. So ultimately, industry is there for a reason. Industry is there to create employment, create wealth, provide facilities. It has a much larger, purpose. And so we need to contribute to the economic development of the country, especially in very critical sectors where we need to be independent. So just to give you a quick, broad scenario of how it is, I think many of you are from the industry, you might already be aware, but just for completeness, let me talk about it. Among all the countries in the world, in India, we spend about 0.7%, roughly about 0.7% of our GDP in R&D. So if you compare this with, like, say, some of the higher spending countries like, South Korea or USA, so they're all of the range of 3 to 4%. So our 0.7% is still less. So this, again, why is R&D important? You might say, why should it be high? Because it has been very clearly shown that the more the R&D that industry uses, the more technology that it brings into it, it's better is its performance, better is its economic viability, and so on. So certainly R&D is an important aspect of any industry. And if you see, India, has been, although the absolute terms, in terms of just the money terms, it has been increasing, but the share, because our GDP also has been growing, so our R&D spend has remained about 0.7%. So it's very important that this is increased. The other aspect that is very important to note is that even out of this 0.7% that I'm talking about, the government sector is what really contributes to about 63% of the spending, which means that the remaining 37% is actually is what is spent by the private sector. So again, if you see like countries like USA and so on, it is actually the opposite. So you will see that there the private sector spends close to 60 to 70% of the R&D, and the government spends actually 30 to 40%. So it's again very important. I mean, of course, that is because of our legacy. They have also come up in a different way, but that's not the point. But I think it's very important. The point I want to make is that the private sector really, I think, needs to put more effort, needs to put more money into the R&D, which I believe will only help the industry. And that's where I think IITs and in general academia comes into picture, because even if the private sector wishes to spend, I think there should also be somebody to supply that R&D, right? I mean, it's not just about, of course, you can have your own R&D, but it's more advantageous to partner with academic institutions like IIT and carry out this R&D. So I think, in the interest of quick time, so there are different sectors. I'll not take too much time on this part. So I think the key R&D spenders, you can call it, are the drugs and pharmaceuticals. I think I think thanks to all the R&D that they have done so far, that's why we have been able to come up with vaccines in such a short time. The other sectors are transportation, which essentially means automotive, of course, IT, information technology. The other sectors that are spending are chemicals, defense, engineering, industry, and so on. So it is not still, I would say it's still less, but this is where the opportunity lies. So what can IIT Kanpur offer, right? I mean, so I think this, I don't need to spend too much time. I think IIT Kanpur, as all of you are aware, is among the top engineering institutions of the country. Slowly it's becoming not just purely an engineering institution. I'll show you very quickly. We'll also have other aspects like biology, life sciences. There is also a plan to start a medical college within the IITK system. So this actually, because today everybody recognizes that medicine and engineering are not necessarily separate. Anyway, I will talk about that in a while. But the idea is that so we have about 20 academic departments in the areas of engineering, management, science, humanities. We have interdisciplinary programs in design, material science. We have very specific research centers on very specific areas like nanosciences, environmental sciences, flexible electronics. Cybersecurity is a huge, very important center, which the government also has recognized as one of the very key centers of IIT Kanpur. Of course, we have a lot of research facilities like for material characterization, for wind tunnels, if you want to do, like a lot of tests are done in the wind tunnel in terms of imaging. So, I mean, there's a whole range of facilities that industry can use for some of their work. We also have specifically industry-funded research cell, which is again very important. Like ISRO has a space technology cell. TCS has recognized the importance of IIT. So we have a specific center funded by Tata Consultancy Services. We have a Unilever-funded center. The Railway Board has recognized the expertise of IITK. So we have a special railway research cell also here. So having done all this, so we would also need cells for IP protection, legal commercialization, and so on. And of course, today incubation startup ecosystem is among the there's a lot of vibrancy, there's a lot of energy in that. So we have an incubation center which is much older than Technopark. They have been around for 10-15 years. They have done excellent work. They have been doing phenomenally good work in terms of fostering startups in all areas, including, you might have already heard of ventilators and masks and PPE kits and many others as well. So this is where now we come into the picture. So Science and Technology Park, or the Research Park, that we are all part of. So this is where I think we want to fill this gap, where so this is part of the IITK. So I'll not go, I mean, I think with 20 departments, about 400 faculty, you can imagine that, we have expertise in almost every aspect of engineering or science or even biosciences, life sciences, and so on. But this is just to give you a very broad glimpse of, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's artificial intelligence, machine learning, electronics, cybersecurity, telecom, Internet of Things, chemical engineering, energy, robotics, defense technologies is a very important area, drones, so environment, whether it's air pollution or water pollution. So these are some of the areas which, but I think this is a very limited list of things. I think if any of you are interested in any specific area, I would invite you to please connect with us, contact us, and we'll be happy to provide more details on the topic of your interest. So some of the quick, again, this is just a very small glimpse of what, just to give you the range, we have looked at, like say, for example, blockchain for, government, like e-governance in terms of maintaining documents, land records. We have developed solar powered drones. We have looked at using, aerial photography for pollution tracking, in water, in whether it's the Ganga or the other waterway systems or even lakes. I think Professor Sinha has looked at where does some development? This is again funded by TCS. It's part of the TCS Center where they have looked at developing artificial skin using bougainvillea, plants. So we also looked at cancer research in our biological sciences. So there's a whole range of this. Absolutely, by no means covers the full range, but just to give you a glimpse. So now the question comes is, okay, so this is all fine. This is what just a glimpse of what IIT can do. So what does the industry need? So why are we here? What are we really looking for? So the industry needs new disruptive technology. You want technology innovations, meaning you're not really happy with the way you're doing things currently. You want to see, can I do it better? There could be challenges for which you need solutions. That you might need training and upskilling. So ultimately, you're interested in improving the performance of your product or your process. You want to improve the quality. You want to improve productivity, and of course, ultimately, you want to improve the cost effectiveness of your operations itself. So how do we do this? So one of the key aspects is that when you talk of all this technology innovations or technology solutions, typically it is referred to in terms of technology readiness level. So these are just a metric to say how advanced is the technology. When I say advanced, I don't mean it in terms of say quantum technologies or next generation technology, but just in terms of say for example you have let's say a cell phone, right? So you could there could be people in the electronics department who might have like many years back just looked at, okay, how do I transmit waves, how do I transmit radio waves and so on. So that is at a basic principle level, demo level in the lab environment. But what industry is really looking for is something that can be productized, that can be sold, that can be actually put into the field. Okay, so typically universities at this lower end of the TRL levels, usually 1, 2, 3 and so on, whereas the industry is looking at the technology at higher TRLs around 7, 8, 9. So typically who's going to bridge this gap? So this is where the real challenge lies. How do we bridge whatever is happening in the university? They're all important. They're all the basic elements of this technology. You couldn't have had your cell phone. You couldn't have had your, tomorrow if you're going to a hospital and you're getting your MRI done or you're getting your X-ray done, somebody sometime, in a university lab had looked at, how do I generate X-rays or what is magnetic resonance? Somebody had done some very basic research, and today they are all products in a hospital or, so somewhere, it had gone through this stages of 4, 5, and 6. And this is where I think really university research parks like Technopark comes into picture, where we try to bridge this gap. It's not like we ourselves are bridging this gap, but we try to bring in universities, academia, we try to bring in industries together and say, okay, so all this is fine, you might have your X-ray, but how do I make my product? How do I make, how do I improve the resolution of this X-ray? How do I make sure that I can even detect the small, really hairline fracture in your bone and so on? So all that, so we are part of that system. So our job in some sense, of Technopark is one, to increase and accelerate R&D collaborations. We would like to participate in training and upskilling, because again, we ourselves, we don't have the manpower, but we will interface with IIT to, do the training, upskilling. We are here to strengthen this, not just industry and faculty, but we would like to, students are also one of our main strengths in IIT today, as all of you know. So I'll talk a little bit about this. So I think it's also important. It's also a good opportunity for industries to work with our students, and it's also a good opportunity for students to also work with you, because their learning, their understanding improves in this process. So like I said, also bridge this TRL gaps that are there to bring from our academic labs to your market level of technology. So to identify this I'll talk about a little more later, because I think one of the key aspects that like even Mr. Barasia and Mr. Vaish was saying in the beginning is that sometimes the industry doesn't know whom to go to, what are we really looking for. So you only have say your challenges, your business, the challenges that your business face. So we are here to identify what could be a technology solution. Okay, so develop some of those, so these are of course the other, like some of the bullets may not be really ready, directly connected to the industry, but we hope that we can also build this kind of a broader knowledge base wherein we can also share with the world as to what is the direction, what is the technology of the future, and that way we'll also be helping the industry to see where could they invest in futuristic technologies. So that's what I think is the role of. So broadly, since this is a very broad area, we have a lot of opportunities. So what we are looking at is into these three, rather five sectors. So defense, aerospace, healthcare, agri-tech, deep tech, and core engineering. I'll quickly go through this. Yeah, please, Mr. Barasia, if I'm crossing the time, just give me a little bit of warning. I'll quickly. So I'll just quickly say what are these opportunities. I think these are, of course, I think I'm sure you know this better. You are on the ground. We are, professors. We are sitting in our own labs and offices. But I think you are better aware. But I think I would just like to share my, our perspective, Technopark's perspective of these sectors, and why we think that these are really great opportunities for industry and academia to come together.